at the dog park. Uh,
I'm good, Kellen.
how you doing, David?
I'm doing pretty well. Just enjoying the north as it starts to turn into fall. Trees are changing color, all that good stuff.
Sounds beautiful.
It's lovely.
I'm waiting for the heat to break. I think tomorrow.
Yeah, nice. It looks verdant.
Uh, I
It's
mean,
beautiful.
our heat's gonna finally die on Thursday and Friday. Won't come back up again after that, I think.
Let me check the weather here. It's 75 right now, but let's see. I think today's still going to be like a high of 100. Yeah, it looks like tomorrow's a high of 75. That would be nice.
Gonna be in at a balmy 51.
Wow.
I mean, today we're at 78, but then we're dropping down into the 50s on there. See, the heat wouldn't last till KubeCon. Anyway, we are 5 minutes in. I don't have anything super major today. I know that 2 weeks from now, I do want to make sure we've gone through the list of talks and things and make sure we have the list ready for people for KubeCon. Like, just try to find all the Wasm related talks, um, just so people can see them. And then that was all I had. I didn't have anything super specific today. I'm just kind of more like nose to the grindstone, getting things done.
Yeah, I'm gonna add these as an action item for the 15th group. Identify WesmCon and KubeCon talks.
I feel like
Interesting.
WasmCon we don't really need to because it's
They're
WasmCon,
all
so they're all Wasm related. But
fair enough.
KubeCon we should probably do.
Yeah, actually, it's a good idea. Thanks.
So yeah, I think we just do that next time. Try it before next time and try to just sort through all the ones that we have. So
All right. Calvin, do you have anything you want to bring up today?
No. Oh, did Blob Store, was he Blob Store move along or
no, we haven't
am
gone to that yet. We're still working on key value and config to move those forward.
okay.
Yeah, I was out last week. I was sick all week. I will. I am working in earnest today to get the implementation for Key Vault or Key Value Store done for Spin. I'm hoping to get that done in the next day or two. Um, and then I'm thinking later on in this week, Calvin, if you have a little bit of time, let's discuss the Blob Store thing. Actually, if do you think we could have a quick discussion about it right now? I think we have all the, Taylor, I think you had some opinions on it, and Calvin, you did as well. So let me rewind the gist of it. So part of the Blob Store API, I believe we wanted to have atomic. It was atomic events on Blob Store, right? Let me bring up the API
Yeah, it
real
was
quick.
the if match stuff.
Yeah,
Ah, yes. Okay.
yeah. So there's first of all, I don't know if what makes sense here. Like it may make sense to like skip it entirely and like consider it in a later version or not at all. It's just most blob stores support like if match or like if not match or something. And you can have different conditions. It's basically conditional updates of
Yep.
where you can do transaction. Sorry for the background noise of the dogs, but um and it would be great if we could support it because there's a lot of use cases in blob stores which really require, you know, that consistency when you're doing updates. Um, but the hiccup is S3 appears to only support it on GET requests as opposed to puts, um, which I find very bizarre. But I believe that's the case. So the vast majority of other blob stores all support a lot of other functionality, but it appears S3 is actually the limiting factor, which is a massive, use case for a lot of people. So
Here's just the one question I have about it. Can you fake it till you make it? Like, could an implementation of S3 implement, like, fake a transactional thing via another mechanism?
the other mechanism that they support in their API, I believe, is get. So what's weird about that is that you still have an edge case of where the timing, when it could reject a get basically where it doesn't match, but you could still commit, and there could be a timing thing where you're committing, you know what I mean? Because you have
Sorry,
to like,
let me rephrase. So for a key value,
yeah.
we had the issue with compare and swap. Couldn't seem to get it right. Removed it. People were like, no, we really need it. Tried one thing. Then David and I got together and we're like, okay, what can we do to possibly represent this? And we came up with the resource that then can be, you can gloss over the internal detail, because some people are using like a cursor type thing. Some people are using like a range thing. There's a whole bunch of different things you could be doing under the hood. And so we tried to abstract that away. Can that same thing be done here for S3 or any other implementation that doesn't have this? Or is it something where it just cannot be represented? And that's here's where I'm going to. If it can be like papered over and you can do something else, then we have it in the main interface. If it cannot be papered over, we have it be a separate interface that takes the container object, the container resource, like a borrow container, and then acts on that container to do the transactional thing. That seems to be the patterns we've been going for so far in the WASI Cloud stuff. That doesn't mean those are the only ones, but that's why I'm trying to figure out which way it's going.
Yeah, so where my head's at on, and that not be the case for everybody else, but is I think we just need a way to do transactional updates. And I don't, I don't think the semantics of like the, the capabilities of these individual blob stores needs to be like exactly exposed. It'd just be nice to be able to have this operations at all. So you can have transactional consistency for blob store updates. That's where my head's at. I don't know if you can fake this in S3 or not. I have to dig into it a bit more, but if it's on gets, I know S3 has like versions of objects. So, but then you still end up with a timing issue of like revert, so it's just, I don't know. It's really weird that they don't support it on the foot.
Yeah. When I looked into this after we had initially talked about it a long, long time ago, I dug into it because I was shocked. I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. But in fact, what Calvin is saying is totally reflects reality. From what I saw, you could create version hierarchies. Like you could say, okay, I'm going to operate on this version. You'll have branch version. And there's like a whole set of rules that go along with that. And none of them really spoke to me as being, yeah, actually transactional. It was more, you have some ability to reason about versioning, but it's really just going to end up being eventual consistency. This brings me back to the idea of like, is this an optional interface? So could we mark this interface as like optional, or something, I don't know, maybe
Well,
even
if it is another interface, it is basically optional because you can construct another world that includes it or doesn't. Like,
yeah. Do we lose a lot of stuff there? Do we lose out on other blob stores by making an interface with transactional support and an interface with just like hey, this is just uh, eventual consistency? And this actually gets close to what we started talking about with key value. I don't know. So the way with key value, and the reason why CAS actually works for key value is because everybody had a way. It wasn't the same way, but we could have a way. And the difference was almost everybody had like, a tag, an e tag or something like that on the key value. And so we could take a hard key value e tag and say, okay, cool, go update it if matches. But the ones that didn't have e tag support had cast support for value. So if set the value along the old value and it matched, then you're good. So we were able to build that abstraction for the cast layer with old value or e tag and make it work. I just don't think there is one for S3 in this case for rights. So even if we did construct the abstraction, it's not going to hold up with S3 there. And as it's been said, S3 is kind of like the gorilla, right? Um, we probably want to support that as best we can.
I wonder if there's a way to do it with a different interface that is like additive to the other interface instead of duplicating the same methods over again, because
That's
that
what
would
I
be,
was talking about with the borrow
yeah.
thing. That's the other option here. What we're gonna have to do with this strategy that we've been doing though is we're gonna probably have to update and add some new worlds inside of the WASI Cloud Core when we get to that point. Because like everyone should be, for example, with key value, everyone should be able to at least support store, and we can maybe even say atomics, but we can't require but even the, or sorry, I should say not even atomics necessarily. Like you could just do store. With this, we'd say you just support containers and types, but you don't have to support this for the base world. And then for the extended world, we'd have all the things that has so that would include the like transactional stuff. Um, so we just have to think about that. But that's at least 4 to 6 months out, in my opinion, because we have to move all the other things along as well and get them all to phase 3 before we kind of push toward the actual WASI Cloud Core world to go out. So I'm okay either way. I think it's okay to have an optional interface that takes a borrow bucket. Luke's talked to me before about being able to like extend resources, like essentially inheritance, for lack of a better term. It's not exactly that, but you know, the equivalent of like my new thing extends whatever, like that kind of implementation in various languages. So I hopefully we can get to that so you can basically add and decorate a resource with additional methods. But right now we just do the thing where we say take a borrow bucket and then it's like having a manual self parameter. It's kind of what it turns into.
Sorry, so the timing, um, sorry, could you clarify, how you think we should go about this? Like timing wise, and what do you recommend?
Timing, I was referring to Cloud Core.
Ah,
So
okay,
don't worry
so,
about that.
okay,
Um, I was just talking about we have to think about that. That was a side note. That was Taylor thinking out loud. Um, so but I think your best option, given the fact that I don't think there's a way to work around it, is to probably make it an optional like interface transactions, and then that thing takes borrow bucket and it lets you do it's annoying that, but I think it makes more sense from like if somebody looking at this, even get should be under there. Um, because like you said, it's a little weird that like S3 only has it on get, but it's up to you. You can decide if maybe it's only puts that do that, and then we add the stuff to get. I don't care too much as long as it's seems like it can be portable across all the things. Because also the fact of the matter is pretty much everything supports an S3 API. So um where push comes to shove, as long as it matches the S3 API, nobody's going to be super disappointed. Um, and besides, everyone's going to probably want to create their own interface for each of those. Because I mean, I've used pretty much all of them. I've used Azure Blob Stores, I've used S3, I've used Backblaze, I've used, like all sorts of things. And each one has their own like slightly different API that you can use to get more features or their special features. So those I figure will be their own custom interfaces anyway.
Yeah, so maybe we'll try to scope out a draft, or I can work on that, maybe on that, of what it might look like for an optional, another interface or something that could be optionally targeted.
Yeah, you want to take a swing at that, Calvin? I don't think it'll be too like if we are going down the optional interface route, I don't think it's going to be too much work. It's just going to be kind of icky, and maybe you'll have an insight along the way that's like, oh, hey, these things look similar. Um, this makes sense. Or after you open it, maybe we'll all become enlightened and figure out what it is that we could do and make it better. Or Bailey can come in and save us all.
Yeah, this definitely still feels like one of those things in a category of like useful things that is supported wide enough that we kind of want it there. It's just, trying to get it ergonomics right and not as
Yeah.
ugly.
Yeah, and the thing is just a reminder. So Dan Goman said something, I think it was at Plumber Summit, but like the reason why WASI happened, if anyone watches this in later, I don't know how good we've been at uploading the recording. So if anyone watches this later, this is a little bit of a history lesson. But the reason why WASI got to like is what it is, because at first people were thinking we need a new POSIX. That didn't quite work out the way, and so they're like, no, like let's do this like based on the fact like this is capability based. What are the capabilities things need instead? And so that's why we got things like WASI CLI, WASI sockets, like those like lower level type of things that get there. And so what Dan had said at this last one, which I think makes a lot of sense, this is just like essentially supposed to be the bootstrap of the community and like the starter kit, as I like to call it. Um, there are a lot of people who will get by with these base pieces of technology. When we were having this discussion around the Cloud Core stuff, Joe reminded everybody of that. Like that's why this was started. Is it's like these are the capabilities you see in like a large chunk of applications running on public clouds and stuff. So this gives people a chance to get started, but really the future is like we're not going to keep. I don't think like WASI is going to be one of those things we keep adding indefinite interfaces to or new versions of things. And this is where we get into Taylor hypothesizing about the future and the crystal ball. So who knows? It could be wrong in 2 months. But I really like the idea of this is how you get people started because I fully expect um, everybody to create custom things that let you leverage the specific benefits of whatever platform you're running on. If you're running in a specific cloud, like I said, it was like I was saying with the Blobster stuff, there's specific things that Azure Blobster has and can link into. Like I think about some of the Event Hub integration stuff that goes in there that I've seen people use. And there's stuff like that at every company. I'm just using it because I know that one. And that's the kind of thing where you can expose that through a custom, in that case, Azure whatever interface. And so people are able to bring the base layers around pretty easy, but then they opt into the things they really care about, and they still get that pluggable nature of it. They still get the thing that like that could be plugged in with a mock, that could be plugged in with something real, that could be updated to something different. All those things we've talked about before. So I think in terms of this, like make it good enough to get that basically that S3 API, and I think if we can get that, that gives people enough tools to get started. And then we're not going to run out of version numbers. As far as I know, there's not a shortage. And then we can continue to iterate over that and help people build custom interfaces for what they need. I think it's a good step-by-step process forward, but like getting this right is really important, but also like it isn't the end all be all. We can always iterate again. We can always adapt and we'll be okay. So that's my thinking here. So do the best we can. We'll get eyes on it, and then I think we'll be good. Step off my soapbox and rah now. Back down. Um, so yeah, that's there you go.
Anybody have anything they would like to continue discussing here on this topic? All right, awesome. Cool. Let's see. We have no agenda items left. This ad hoc item was quite useful. Anybody have anything else they would like to discuss in the meeting? Okay, I imagine folks are going to be pretty busy here. We are about 1 month out from WasmCon, KubeCon. I know my workload has gone like this, and I'm sure everybody else is cheering through theirs. So uh, we will have another meeting here. What does that fall on? The 29th?
Yeah, 29th. And then
Okay.
after that, it will be WasmCon the next time. So I think we'll
Yes.
probably cancel that one because we'll all be, or not all, but a good chunk of us will be in person. So um, yeah,
We can
that's
either cancel it or perhaps hold one together. Yeah, they don't normally the last few times we've tried that, it hasn't been terribly successful. Um, so let's weigh it, think about it, and bring your ideas to the next instance. Um,
yeah, I agree. By the way, I've tried several times to get people together at these things, even just for, hey, let's go get dinner, let's go, and it never works. So, um, I mean, if we really planned something and had like a good dinner and then it was going to be free or something, I'm sure we get people, but we don't have that ability. So,
Taylor, I would love to break bread with you.
well, I will with any of you who regularly attend this call or are interested in WASM. I am here for that, but it just depends on getting people there. So yeah, I agree. I think next week we can decide for sure. But yeah, I'm also fine keeping it relatively light next week with like the KubeCon schedule review and then just getting back to grindstone for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. There's no doubt we will all have a bunch of work to take care of. All right, excellent. Then with that, let's draw this meeting to a close, I believe. Anybody else second that motion? Excellent. Thank you, sir. You fine gentlemen and audience, thank you for joining us today. This is the October 15th instance of the WASI Working Group. We really appreciate everybody's input here. If you have any questions, please hit us up on Slack in the CNCF Wasm-wg channel, and love to hear anybody's feedback, comments, please. So thank you, and we'll see you at the next instance on October 29th. Everybody have a great day in their preparations for KubeCon and WasmCon. Cheers.